Good morning at isang magandang Monday sa inyong lahat at sa iyo, Rom. Alam mo, Rom, nung weekend, so naglakad-lakad lang ako. Tapos ang dami-dami ko nakitang for auction. So tingin ko mukhang booming na naman ang property. Kamusta dyan sa lugar niyo, Rom?
Ayun din eh, pag nagda-drive ako papuntang city o visit ng kliyente, laging may bago eh na for sale, and in just a couple of days makikita mo sold. Ang parang totoo nga Joy yung sinasabi mo na it's seller's market. So kasi isa yata na parang komportable yung mga investor na bumili ng property, talaga nilang pinakamahal nilang investment product.
Correct. And then, I guess, napapanahon yung topic natin today dun sa mga nakikita natin sa labas na mukhang yung mga tao excited na maghanap ng kanilang mabibiling bahay. So, today yung ating topic tungkol sa paano nga ba maging smart property investor.
So, ngayong umaga, punong-puno ng impormasyon sa ating mga viewers, no? Paano nga maging para hindi ka matakot o mag-invest or tawag ito, matutunan yung mga strategies. So meron tayong guest na nagawa na ito ng, alam mo Joy, 4 na beses na. So pwede nating sabihin na expert na itong ating guest.
Tingin ko marami tayong matututunan sa guest natin today's experience na kung pang-4 niya na to, 'di ba? Pero bago mo siya ipakilala, Rom, bago natin mapakinggan ang kwento ng ating guest today, again, i-remind ko lang yung mga viewers natin, general advice warning lang. Ano man ang maririnig natin mula sa ating guest today ay specific sa kanyang experience at sa kanyang scenario. Bago po kayo mag-act on any of these, please make sure to consult and work with professionals. Okay, Rom.
Okay, sa aming mga viewers, ang guest natin ngayon ay isang nurse. Nurse and of course, a property investor. So, sa aming mga viewers, sa aming mga followers, kung may question kayo, hit comment, no? Mag-comment lang kayo dito at maaaring sasagutin niya kayo na diretso. So, sa ating guest, ang guest natin, ang pangalan niya ay Ernest, isang registered nurse. Hello, Ernest. Kamusta?
Hello, Rom. Good morning, Rom. Good morning, Joyce.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Salamat.
Cool. Kahit quick introduction muna siguro, Ernest, para sa mga viewers natin.
Oh, yeah. So, Ernest pangalan ko. Registered nurse. Nagtatrabaho na ako as a nurse sa Australia and New Zealand for 10 years now since living the Philippines. And yun, over the last couple of years, I've been into property investing and I've been lucky and I've been blessed so far.
That is great to hear. Okay, simulan natin yung pagtatanong, Ernest. So, sabi mo, nag-i-invest ka, di ba? Ano pa yung nag-prompt sa'yo, yung desisyon mo para mag-invest sa property market?
So I think personal experience. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. It was mahirap yung buhay sa Pilipinas and we weren't very well off sa Philippines. So ako nag-nursing ako to strategy sa life strategy on to makapag-overseas. Kasi 'di ba sa Pilipinas, when you don't have a lot, ang binavalue ng parents natin is yung education, yun lang yung kaya nilang ibigay sa atin. So, nag-overseas ako, nag-New Zealand ako initially, then nag-Australia. And I think habang nag-i-improve ka as a person, siguro may ibang tao makarelate siya na nag-abroad, nag-nurse, nag-aral, tapos lumalaki ang sweldo, nakakabili ng mga bagong gamit, naging komportable ang buhay. Pero there comes to a point na iniisip mo na, nag-improve na yung buhay ko, nabibili ko na yung mga gusto ko. Ano yung next step? What are the next steps? Paano ko pa magiging mas komportable yung buhay ko, paano ko pa mas tutulungan yung mga kaibigan ko, yung pamilya ko, and yung future generation natin, yung mga magiging anak natin, and yung future generation. So, I think doon nagsimula yung thinking ko of now settled ako sa career ko, may konti akong savings. What do I do with I'm comfortable? What can I do next? And doon na yung nakikita mo sa news na nag-iisip ka, businesses ba? Racket ba ako? Magpa-franchise ba ako? Tapos siguro over the last few years, nakikita ko sa TV, araw-araw, di ba? Parang ang daming, araw-araw sa news, makikita mo na may news about interest rates or property or something about property related. Araw-araw yan nasa news. And that's what triggered me. Parang, what is it about property investing and the property market na araw-araw nasa news siya? And everyone seems to be talking about it. And marami kang naririnig ng mga success stories from property investing. And doon nagsimula yung interest ko sa property investing. And nag-start ako magbasa-basa, look at read about what property investing is, talk to other people who have properties, not necessarily property investors. And you get a little bit of idea. And so doon nag-start yung interest ko sa property investment.
Okay. Ang ganda ng kwento, Joy, no? So, nag-aral, nagsumikap, gumanda yung career. Pero yung property parang byproduct lang nung purpose talaga ni Ernest. Yung what's next eh. How can I help more sa property? So helping needs money, no? Yung tawag nito. The best things in life are free, pero yung pagtutulong cost you money. Yun yung tawag natin, no? Ang nakita ni Ernest na yung by investing into property, maaring lumaki yung kanyang wealth para makatulong pa mismo. Yun yung napakaganda ng goal. No? Nagbanggit ka ng konting risk ng pagbabasa. So, paano mo pinipare ang sarili mo prior to investing more than reading? Alam ko, hindi lang naman pagbabasa, no? Ang pagkausap sa isang tao. So expand nga natin siya, Ernest.
So, yun, as I told earlier, nagsimula ako sa pagbabasa, talking to people, and educating myself. A lot of it initially kasi medyo when I was before I got into property investment, wala naman akong mga friends na talagang property investors at the time. So nagsisimula ka sa internet. So basa ka sa internet, and I guess yung turning point ko is meron ako isang pinagtrabahuan na work, isa sa mga workplaces ko in the last few years is may nakatrabaho akong mga Filipino property investors, and this was in Sydney. And dun at that time, dun ko nakita na first hand ko nakikita na we had a similar upbringing sa Philippines, similar path na nag-overseas, nag-save, and this is where they are now. And they're doing well with property investment. So I think yun yung turning point ko na meron akong nakikita, nakakausap, nakakasamang tao na who is actually doing it. And I started having conversations with them. And at the end of the day, after no conversations, you do your own due diligence, you do your own Googling of the terms. Kasi hindi naman lahat na i-explain ng casually ng mga kaibigan mo. So that's when you do your own due diligence and relate kung ano man yung mga kinikwento nila, and you read it against what is being said in the internet. So that was one of the things na nag-prepare sa akin. And another thing na nag-prepare sa akin was actually yung may konti na akong alam, nakausap ko na yung mga tao na may nabasa na ako. So I started talking to, I think first step ko rin is, one of the first few steps na ginawa ko is talk to a broker. kasi broker naman yung pinaka first point of entry natin sa property. So like, oh, hey broker, ano bang mga available options sa akin? What do you think? Ano ba yung service? Ano ba yung pwedeng i-loan sa akin ng bangko? Ano ba yung pwede kong bilhin? Bibili ba ako ng bahay ko? Bibili ba ako ng investment? So, yun yung mga nagtanong ako. So, after you educate yourself, you read a little bit, you talk to people, you ask the questions, and you you approach someone, a professional.
Very good. So nakita ko din Ernest and Rom and sa mga viewers natin, I guess yung openness ni Ernest na matuto, yung thirst for knowledge niya. Hindi lang siya na-stop sa pakikinig lang sa iba. Research siya ng sarili niya and then nag-work siya with professionals din, which is really good. So, I guess Ernest, yung gusto na namin marinig is meron ka ba nung nag-isip ka na mag-invest, meron ka bang certain goal na I guess sinet mo para sa sarili mo around sa investments mo?
When I first, siguro before my first property, um, wala naman akong ob- wala naman akong mga very specific goals. I had a general goal which was I'm gonna try investing. Tingnan ko kung anong mangyayari sa property investing, and hopefully in the end ang general goal ko is to have a more comfortable life. And I think up until now yung general goal ko pa rin is to work because I love working, because I love what I'm doing, and not because pinupwersa ko yung sarili ko araw-araw na mag-a-alarm kailangan pumasok ng work na I'm not forcing myself to work. I think yun yung general goal ko. Pero yung specific sa property investing, when I started, wala akong general goal noon. Pero ngayon, as the days and weeks and months go by and nagkakaroon ako ng more and more properties, doon mo na add and you learn more and you experience more. So doon dumadating yung mga specific goals mo na may natututunan kang bago. So may natututunan kang strategy in investing. So doon mo magagamit yung mga learnings mo into making objectives. So I think now na meron ako ilang property portfolio, meron ako mga specific objectives like I want to have a certain property every this number of years. I want to cut down my working hours after 5 or 10 years. So yun, but I think I started out with a general goal, and as you learn and as you experience, you're able to create more objective targets.
Joy, ifa-follow up ko lang yung in relation. Ang ganda ng last na question mo eh. So, kailangan may follow up doon eh. So, sabi nga nila, mag-set ka ng goal, gawa ka ng plano, reviewin ang plano kung nagwo-work, no? May strategy ka ba diyan, Ernest, to review? And then at this time ba, yung mga ginagawa mo ba is still aligned doon sa expectation mo, especially, 'di ba? Invest akong property, ito yung renta niya. Maring ito yung value ng property, and then bibili naman ulit ako sa iyo. So, at this time, Bob, after buying those 4 properties, align pa rin ba siya doon sa mga expectation mo, or as expected yung mga nangyayari?
I think yes, as expected yung mga nangyari. I think with property investing, the first property is always the hardest. So first property investment ko was 2 years ago, and I think I waited at least a year. So at least nagkaroon ako ng one whole financial year para ma-review yung mga incomings and outgoings ko. And then I talked to a professional, I talked to a financial planner, I talked to an accountant, and you do your own mathematics as well. So at the end of the day, yung advice ng professionals, tapos kung ano man yung mga numbers na nakikita mo, you make the decision, is this working for me? Is this good for my future? And I think after nung one financial year ko with one property, that's when I realized na, oh yeah, nag-work yung isang property sa akin na wala akong nilabas na pera, may incoming akong pera, may tax deductions ako, so why not do a second one? So I think yun yung strategy ko. And then um, after my second one, yun din yung ginawa ko. So sabi ko, I waited for my second property to start earning and then do the maths again, talk to a professional, um, get some professional advice. And then if you see that if it's still going well, then why not? Let's do a third one. So I think yun yung strategy ko in reviewing and updating my goals and yung sa property investing.
Very good. So one is ang ganda na although at the start general yung goal mo, Ernest, pero as you learn, as you go through the process, 'di ba? Nagkaroon ka ng specific objectives, which is good. And then also na nire-review mo rin siya. So titingnan mo, 'di ba? And nakita ko dun yung I guess you're making informed decisions based dun sa data ng mga previous mong experience and previous na investments, which is very good. So, if a follow up ko yung tanong doon na, of course, you mentioned, Ernest, you work with broker, di ba? So, again, malaking pera pinag-uusapan natin dito, lalo na 4 na property na, di ba? So, how are you ensuring na ikaw ay financially ready to invest? At may mga tips ka ba based sa sarili mong experience around finances?
Yes, personal I'm only talking about myself. Medyo the last 10 years na nagtrabaho ko overseas, medyo thrifty ako. So I've always lived within my means. I've never spent too much money. I make sure that I'm happy with my quality of life and I'm still spending money to make myself happy and content. And I work hard. So I think yung habang bata pa ako, nung mga nasa 20s pa, I worked hard and really hard as I can. But when you're in your 30s, that's when you start thinking, should I work harder or should I work smarter? So I think eventually nung nasa 30s na ako, tapos nag-start ako mag-invest, I had savings, which was the product of working hard, but not necessarily working smart. Um, so I think yun, it really helped me a lot na kung ano man yung ginawa ko nung nasa 20s ako has really set me up in my 30s. And I think yung savings is one really big part of it. I think yung ibang tao they're lucky if they can have mom and dad's help or family's help. But I think for me and for a lot of other Filipinos and overseas Filipinos, you start by yourself. You save, you work hard, you work smart, and yeah. So savings, number one, savings. Ano pa ba? Financially ready and living within your means, debt free. Siguro one specific advice sa akin is I don't like any debts or like bad debts as we would call it sa investment property terms. Credit card. So I have a credit card but wala akong utang sa credit card. Every payday I put in money in my credit card and yun yung allowance ko for the fortnight. So and I get points from the credit card and I redeem the points. So wala akong utang, may points ako. So I think yun, I don't like debts. If I in my 20s then or until now, if I want to buy something, if I want to have a holiday, I would work for it first. I would plan for it and I would work for it. Hindi lang ako basta-basta mag-swipe ng credit card or kukuha ng part ng savings ko. If I want something, I will work for it. Kasi ang vision ko ngayon is yung savings ko. This is a business now for me. Yung savings ko, gagamitin ko to for more and more investments. So yun yung mga strategies ko to make myself financially secure sa property investing.
Napakaganda, Joy. Umiinit ang ating usapan. So, sa mga viewers namin, alam namin ang dami nyo natutunan. So, just hit like kung nag-agree kayo dun sa sinasabi ni Ernest. Napakaganda, no, yung kanyang mensahe. Living within your means, di ba? Yung bad debts, ina-avoid niya. Yung mga credit card. So, ito, magandang, itong question na ito is property So tayo ng mga property investor, si Ernest na property investor, nakaka-receive yan ng mga news, no? Nagpa-follow yan sa mga news na nangyayari sa property market. At Joy, no, hindi lahat ng news ay positive. So maaring ngayong taon naka-receive tayo na ang property ay tumaas ng 20%. That's a positive news. Pero minsan hindi lang yan ang news na receive mo eh. Number one, tatawag sa iyo yung agent, i-repair yung property mo. That's unexpected news, no? Uh, Hindi nagbayad ang iyong tenant. That's an unexpected news. Ernest, para sa mga viewers natin na investor o plano pa lang mag-invest, paano mo naman siya pinaghahandaan kung makareceive ka ng ganong news?
Yes, so I think as property investors, you have to always, as a property investor, you have to always protect yourself. And what better way to protect yourself than insurance? I think and letting the professionals help you. So I think number one, isa sa mga techniques ko in property investing is I let the professionals manage the property and manage your portfolio. I made this mistake in my first property sa New South Wales. Na I said I think in the first few months I said, oh, I can manage this. I'll do this on my own. I have the time, I have the knowledge, I have the skills. And lumipat ako ng Victoria. Hindi ko na realize na yung council fees ko pala pinapadala nila sa dati kong address sa New South Wales. And so that was a lesson learned for me na lumobo yung council rate ko from this amount to this amount. Nagkaroon ako ng fines. So lesson learned. Now I let the professionals do the managing for me, and I keep an eye on the property manager. So I think that's one thing na ginagawa kong risk mitigation sa property. Number two is insurance. Very essential is to have landlord's insurance, mortgage insurance, and I think a little, so siguro yung landlord's insurance is very obvious, di ba, kung kukuha ka ng property. Pero some things na na-learn ko nung kumuha na ako ng financial planner and professional advice is life insurance and income protection. So when you're young, you feel invincible and you think, that's fine, kaya kong magtrabaho, kaya kong bayaran to kahit na anong mangyari. Pero once you talk to the professionals, that's when they are able to help you set up the appropriate insurance to protect your financial status and your earning capacity. So I think, again, going back to the very basic of talking to a professional, getting their advice, getting their services, and knowing do your own due diligence again, magbasa-basa ka sa internet. What are my responsibilities and what are my potential liabilities as a property investor? Ano ba yung liabilities mo sa tenants mo? Ano yung liabilities mo kung mag-earthquake, kung masunog yung bahay? I think you have to think of the worst case scenario. Ano yung liabilities mo kung mawalan ka ng trabaho? Ano yung liabilities mo kung magkasakit ka for a year? So I think that's one of the things that I always think about is worst comes to worst, may mangyari sa akin, ano yung protection ko, ano yung mga security blankets na in place para yung properties ko is mag-work pa rin, kaya ko pa rin bayaran yung mortgage ko.
Cool. Alam mo, Rom, natutuwa akong kausap si Ernest. Natutuwa akong pakinggan yung experience niya tsaka sinishare niya. Kasi nakikita ko na parang hindi lang Ernest, ikaw ay isang smart investor, pero smart ka rin with regards to your finances, di ba? From the very start. So, napaka-inspiring. Thanks for sharing those. So, follow up ko lang another question. So, to be a smart investor, minsan kailangan, actually maraming skills na kailangan dyan, di ba? Minsan kailangan mag-negotiate, mag-persuade. Meron ka bang, aside from that, or siguro ma-example tungkol doon, ay mga skills na kailangan mo as a smart investor na nakikita mo na key to be successful?
I think skills is, I think sa akin na personally, I think nag-work sa akin yung inquisitiveness mo, yung inquisitiveness ko, yung keen interest. And then I think when you talk of like soft skills, I think yung communication is very essential. Because yung communication skills, yun naman yung nag-open up ng mga conversation mo with people that you meet. Conversation mo with a broker, conversation mo with your accountant or your financial planner. Kailangan ma-communicate mo sa kanila kung ano ba yung goals mo sa buhay. How can they help you? Um, and even with like your friends or other property investors, when you talk to them, I think communicating and talking openly, yun yung nagpa-facilitate ng exchange of ideas. So that's one of the soft skills na tingin ko is very essential, communicating. Even so, when you communicate with the professionals, communicating in appropriate, timely manner. Kasi sa ating mga, alam mo ako nurse, nagtatrabaho ko long hours, night shifts. Sometimes oftentimes hindi ako nakaka-reply sa broker or sa advisor ko. Kung may tinatanong sila sa akin, may pina-follow up sila, hindi ako nakaka-reply. So I always feel bad kasi it's not right. I think I should be quick in communicating, um, para ma-facilitate kagad, ma-address kagad yung mga potential problems. So communication is one skills. I think being objective is another skill that we need as property investors. Um, Feeling ko kailangan magkaroon ka ng, yun, going back to our goals and objectives, kailangan meron kang goals and objectives na bakit ka nag-invest, bakit ka nag-save, bakit mo ginagawa tong mga to. Because if you're only doing this because it's a fad, nakikita mo yung iba na you're just jumping in the bandwagon, without actually knowing, without understanding, and you don't have a goal, I think it's gonna be hard kasi you're gonna be all over the place. Yung mga decisions mo will not direct you or will not help you sa goals mo and sa objectives mo. So yun, setting up, it's another skill, being objective. Even with your property investments, you have to be very objective about them. I was guilty din nung nag-start ako ng mag-invest na I've always pictured myself living in this place. And I told myself, oh yeah, titirahan ko to. I'm gonna drive 1-2 hours to work kasi maganda tong lugar na to. And then I realized na hindi mo naman pala talaga titirahan yun eh. Never mo titirahan yun. Actually, minsan hindi mo nga makikita yung property mo for many, many years. You just have to be very objective that this is a property and this property is gonna be working for me. This property is gonna be making me money. So yun, being objective is another skill that we all need as property investors. And I think a certain degree of diligence and inquisitiveness. Kasi, di ba, we always hear this, due diligence. Kung hindi mo babasahin yung mga binibigay na papel sa'yo, kung hindi ka magtatanong, if you're not asking the right questions at the right time, hindi mo binabasa yung mga pinipirmahan mo, then it's very risky and dangerous. So you have to have a certain degree of what do you call it? You gotta have the certain degree of focus and objectivity. So yun yung mga skills I think that are essential for us property investors.
Mm. Ang daming nakuha yung mga mga viewers natin doon, Joy, no. So property number 1, may learnings yan, may mistakes. 2, maaring iba rin, no. 3, 4. And then papunta, alam ko property, you really love property. Ano kaya yung mga learnings na you keep in mind when you buy your property number 5? So i-share natin na so papunta na tayo sa property number 5, no? So ano kayang learnings doon sa apat na mga mistakes na nagawa mo sa first 4 properties? Ang dala-dala mo o babaunin mo para sa next na property purchase is ma-avoid natin yung mga mistakes na yun?
So what I'm doing now is uh, meron akong um, meron akong property notebook, and dito sa property notebook ko is nakalista yung mga mistakes na nagawa ko. So yun, from one of my biggest mistakes, not letting the professionals do their jobs and do the job for me. And key learning, ano pa ba yung mga learnings ko? I think it's an ongoing learning experience for me. Every property, wala na naman ako nagawang major blunders or major errors lately sa last couple of properties. But you always find improvement. I think essential na you learn from the experience with every property, regardless kung may ginawa kang mali or kung wala kang ginawang mali. Always think of how could it be better? How can I make it better? How can I make it easier? Um, should I switch banks? Should I switch brokers? Should I switch accountant? Should I mix it up a little bit? What are the predictions? Read the news. May mga nagbago ba sa banking laws? So I think learning is personally, I always think of how can I make it better? How can I make it easier? Yun yung with every investment property. Yun yung key learning experience ko.
Cool. Ernest, pa-share naman sa amin, ano yung mga key things or criteria na hinahanap mo dun sa property na i-investan mo?
Yes, I think going back, kailangan maging objective tayo. As a property investor, you're a businessman. So you have to be very objective with your property. Yun ang sinabi ko kanina na initially I was so emotional na I pictured myself living in this house. But it actually it will never happen. So what do I look for in a property is personally, I look for a certain price range. Number one, I don't want to be spending too much money. I don't want to be paying too much mortgage every month na hindi naman mako-cover ng rent ng property. So with my property portfolios, most of them are paying or almost paying for the whole mortgage. So ang ibig sabihin nun sa akin is yung sweldo ko is sa akin pa rin. Wala akong nilalabas na out of pocket sa sweldo ko going into my properties. So my properties are there, but I don't think about them at the end of the day. I know they're there, and I know every day they're growing. The land price is growing or the house price is growing, and I'm not doing anything. Hindi ako nagbabayad. So yun. Number two is location. So when you think of location is anong state? Gusto ko bang mag-invest in another state na wala akong masyadong alam? Gusto kong mag-invest dito sa Melbourne kasi alam ko dito. Gusto ko mag-invest sa Sydney kasi tumira ako doon dati. So you gotta know the demographics, the trend doon sa pag-iinvestan mo. You have to be well informed. You have to look at the historical figures. You have to look at the issues. And ano pa ba yung mga hinahanap ko sa property investments? You have to think of kung sino ba, ano ba yung mga demographic na target mo. Ang demographics ba na target mo are working professionals, then maybe it's good to invest near a hospital, near a university. Ang target mo ba are families, then you should look for a suburb where families live. And all of your demographics will have a certain pro and con. Kung demographic na target mo are students, so there'll be plenty of students near universities and you're sure to have income. Pero may potential na matrash yung property mo. So yung mga pros and cons, to think about it. Whereas buy a property in the suburbs where families grow, so you have to think, this is gonna be a family property. Yung property bang ipapatayo ko, is it child friendly? Do we have schools? Do we have supermarkets? Do we have public transport? So do your readings, know your know your target population, know the trend, know your prices, and predict. Make an Excel sheet as to your potential incomings and outgoings for a property, or yung annual planner nung kung bibilin mo tong property, how much is your mortgage monthly, how much is your rental income, take into consideration insurances, um, property management, strata. At the end of the day, how much yung matitira sa'yo, how much yung babayaran mo. And then talk to your accountant. So, I think those are some of the things na iniisip ko when I think of property and potential growth of the area. I mean, there are a lot of potential growths in like major cities. Like, would you want to invest in inner city, or would you want to go out a bit further? Na tinatayuan ng mga major motorways ng government, tinatayuan ng mga malls, ng new universities, new hospitals. So I think those areas in the outer parts of the cities are potentially good investment areas. So yun, those are some of the things na hinahanap ko sa mga property investments.
Cool. Ernest, we are being watched by I don't know, viewers natin na planning to invest or tawag ito, papasok pa lang sa property market. Any advice to our viewers exploring to invest in property? Baka may mga natatakot pa sa mga viewers namin na bumili. Advice nga sa kanila, Ernest.
I think advice ko is, yes, it is scary and nakakatakot, and I've been there before. I think most property investors have felt. I think kung hindi ka natakot, I think it's not a good thing kung hindi ka natakot. Pero yung ano yung mag-aalay ng takot natin, it's being well informed, it's being prepared with your savings, being prepared with the information, and surrounding yourself with the right people. And when I say right people, you gotta have yung mga professionals. You got to have professional advice. And another kind of right people is people that I trust. So I've been so lucky na meet ko yung mga friends ko who are property investors, and I've trusted them. And because I trust them, I networked. So yung mga taong tinatrust ko, nakikinetwork ako sa kanila, and then within this network of people, I see the professionals. So because people trust each other, and then ito yung mga taong sinasurround ko yung sarili ko with, and these are the people who I hire to work with me or work with me in my property. So, and then once you are well informed, you're ready, then there's nothing else to do but jump into the ship, do it, because doing your first investment, taking your first investment is always the hardest, and there's never a right time for it. The right time for it is, you will never ever be fully prepared. There will always be questions, but I think once you kapag medyo okay ka na sa sarili mo, and yung objectives mo are clear, and yung mga fallbacks mo, insurances mo, you've done the maths, just do it. Yun ang advice ko sa mga tao.
Sounds good. Jam-packed yung advice. Thank you for that, Ernest. Alam ko, Rom, and our viewers, marami pa tayong gustong itanong at matutunan galing kay Ernest. Pero hanggang dyan lang muna tayo today. So, I guess one more wrap up na lang, Ernest, kung meron ka pang additional na message na gustong sabihin sa viewers.
Now, siguro general message lang is, property investing is is it's not easy, but it can be smooth. You just gotta do the right things, have goals set in mind, and be prepared.
Ayun, it's not
Ganda.
easy, but if you are prepared, kakayanin ninyong mga viewers natin. Joy, may pasok pa itong guest natin ha. Pero
Correct.
nagbigay siya nagbigay siya ng time para sa atin ano, natatouch ako dun sa kung umpisahan mo yata with the right mindset, objective no. Nagumpisa sa goal, nagumpisa sa tawag nito, sa educate yung sarili, nagtrabaho, hard work, smart tawag nito na strategy, andin yung focus niya kung paano siya makatuna napakaganda. Joy.
Agree. And naramdaman ko di ba? Kasi lahat tayo nandun dumaan sa exact na kinuwento mo sa amin, Ernest So parang sinasabi mo, parang naramdaman ko dun is, hindi natin kailangan mag-stop lang dun sa nagtrabaho tayo, nagpapakahirap, di ba? Pero kailangan mag-isip-isip lang na pag tumatanda ka na, paano ka magiging smart? Na hindi ka malakas pang matagalan, di ba? Anong kailangan mong gawin para ano man yung napag-ipunan mo, napagtrabuhan mo, is mag-work na rin para sa'yo. So, thank you, Ernest.
No, thank you
So
so much.
isa na namang umaga, Joy, na punong-puno ng impormasyon para sa ating mga viewers. Of course, particularly sa property investment. So sinabi ko kanina, pag may tanong kayo, mag-comment lang kayo sa video na ito. So tapusin na natin, Joy, para makapasok na ito si Ernest no, sa lagi namin sinasabi, save taxes legally, guys. And Joy, be smart with Tax Smart
Sabay tayo,
Cafe.
Ernest.
Tax Smart Cafe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you sa inyo.